All right, welcome everyone to our July SCC meeting. Starting this meeting at 8:08 p.m. So let's get a roll call going.
All right, so we are currently missing CD1, CD2, Ms. Campbell.
Here, present, and for
You, CD3, I don't see James St. John.
St. John, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Gotcha. CD4, Carl's here.
Yeah, I'm here.
And CD5, Mr. Curtis.
James Curtis, present.
All right, CD6, I do not see Mr. Heiner. CD7, I do not see Mr. Norton. CD8, Tom is filling in for Logan, correct?
That's right.
All right, thanks, Tom. CD9, I do not see Mr. Craig. CD10, James.
Hi, I'm here. Yes.
All right, CD11, CJ is also not here. Treasurer, Mr. John.
I'm here.
Secretary, Mr. Bruce is present. Mr. Vice Chair.
Present.
And Madam Chair.
I am here.
All right, I am showing 2/3 quorum, 10 out of 15.
Very good, thank you. All right, so we need to approve the agenda.
I actually would like to move to amend the agenda. Section 7A in old business, that bylaw amendment that's on there is highly relevant to local affiliates. So I'd actually like to move it after 9A, since we're discussing the role of the LPVA with respect to local affiliates. I think it would be best to have that discussion first and then sort of apply whatever the results of that discussion are to the bylaws amendment.
Paul, just for clarification, are you saying to move the bylaw amendments from old business or move the discussion topic up into old business?
It would be moving 7A into like a new 9B.
Okay.
So pushing bylaw amendment down.
Got it. Okay.
Mr. Curtis?
I'll second that.
Mr. Curtis?
I had asked to add just a discussion item about potentially participating in the Virginia State Fair this year. Would that fall under the events and area discussion, or should that be added as a separate topic?
My apologies on that one. Yeah, I actually had it in here and then I removed it. State Fair.
Probably be under discussion topics unless you plan to vote on something.
Well, someone wanted it to be brought up as new business, so we will put it there.
I don't know if there's an actual motion though, so either of those is fine.
I will leave that under new business in the event that that kind of infers there will be discussion regardless. But otherwise, I will second Paul's motion to amend the bylaws or amend the agenda to move bylaw amendments into discussion or after the role of the LPVA.
All right. Anyone opposed to Paul's motion? All right, motion passes. So we will amend the agenda to move the bylaw amendment after discussion of our role with local affiliates. Any other? Go ahead.
I was just going to move to approve the agenda as amended.
All right. Any seconds on that?
Seconded.
All right. Any objections to approving the agenda as amended? All right. Hearing none, agenda is approved. All right, now we need to approve minutes from both our May and our June SCC meetings. So we can start with the May meeting. Anyone have any questions about those? I will entertain motions to approve.
So moved.
All right. And seconds?
I will second.
All right, thank you, Mr. John.
Just point of information. Are we moving both to approve both minutes at the same time?
No,
No.
Jen said specifically the May minutes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, any objections to approving the minutes for May? Hearing none, May minutes have been approved. And now for the June minutes. Any questions or corrections?
Move to approve the June minutes.
Okay, any seconds?
Second.
All right, any objections?
I would like to expressly abstain from this vote since I wasn't on the meeting and have not watched the video.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, hearing none, June meetings approved with one abstention from our vice chair. All right, officer reports. I would like to add something to my report. This came up about an hour ago. I received an invite from Aaron Davis for a Grassroots Leadership Academy in Richmond, Virginia. It is on Saturday, August 5th from 10 to 4. I did forward the event to our Libertarian Party of Virginia members group, but I can also post it in the Discord and send it out via email when this meeting is done, so that everyone can have the address. But if you are interested, let me know. I can always just send you an invite to the event. And that is all from me. Mr. Vice Chair?
I had submitted my report. If I would ask that if anybody has questions on the first point about the Virginia Independent Consumers and Farmers Association, that we hold that until whenever we are next having an executive session.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bruce, anything to add?
No, I've really just been kind of putting together a list of the promotional items and things like that. I sent that out in the email last night, so hopefully folks had a little bit of time to look over and digest that. That's all.
Okay. All right, I will get that information to you, Jacqueline. All right, Mr. John, anything to add?
There's not much in my report. Our funds are largely unchanged. And I was asked to produce a balance sheet and a P&L. I know I was super late on sending that to Mr. Bruce, but I sent that probably 20 minutes ago, and I can produce those however people want, but they are available for viewing, and I can submit them to the LPVA SCC Google group as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr.
Just to confirm with you, Dan, I apologize. Just to confirm, I hadn't checked my email, but I did as soon as you mentioned that I did receive that. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
All right, Mr. Curfey's still not here. Ms. Campbell, is there anything you want to add to your report?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. St. John?
No, ma'am.
Carl, would you like to give us your report since you weren't able to send it out?
Yeah, I got to send mine out. Let's see. I was going to talk about that thing from Erin from the American for Prosperity. I went to her last event, and I was going to talk about that also. I think it's going to be a good idea to learn and get certified, sort of a certificate for how to do grassroots fundraising and getting out here talking to people. So it might be a fun thing. Plus, I think she serves us free food. So, and then the Libertarian Party of South Central Virginia are going to be doing Dinwiddie's county fair. They have a really particular requirement at their fair. We have to get a background check if we're participants in the fair, which is kind of odd. So I'm not sure how that's. I just found that out the other night. So how that's going to work out.
Is that for all volunteers or just the?
That's for everybody who's having a function or something there at the fair. Yeah, not if you're going to the fair, but only if you're going to be having something there. I reckon it's kind of odd. So we're still looking into that. It's something new.
Interesting.
And that's about it for us.
All right. Thank you, Carl. Hey, David. All right, so I guess he is finally online, riding home. All right, Mr. Curtis, anything else you want to add?
No, nothing to add to the report I submitted.
Well, we will miss you on the SCC once you move, but hopefully you will still come attend our meetings.
You don't get rid of me that easily.
All right, Mr. Heiner is not here. I didn't see a report from Mr. Norton, but we can get that from him later. All right, Logan sent out his report. Mr. Craig is not here. Mr. Repass, anything you want to add to your report?
No report.
Okay. And CJ did send a report. I didn't have any questions on that, so let's go to committee reports. I know that you submitted your report on 50th anniversary. Ms. Campbell, do you have anything else you wanted to add or have us discuss?
I do have a Word document that I can share if you guys are interested. Our committee formed a Google Doc, so that way we can add pages to it, and I have mine that I can share with you guys. We've made a fair amount of progress in our last Zoom call, and we basically would like to do a poll of the future, attendees to see which of the 3 different options for location, time, and whatnot is going to be the best choice for the vast majority of the people who already want to attend. And then once we've got that finalized, then we're going to go ahead and divide and conquer and get all that, kind of locked into place. So I can share that document if you are interested in it. I believe it is 3 pages long. But we basically are just trying to get an idea of which of the 3 months is going to be the best choice, whether we want to do a day, afternoon, or evening, or multiple options, and that kind of thing. It's just in order for us to best accommodate everybody who wants to come and the expectations of what people would like to see. We want to make sure that it's going to be what people want to go to. So, and I do apologize. I'm actually sitting in the back of our car in Louisiana at a truck stop, and we spent most of the day at a water park in Mississippi. So it's been an interesting weekend.
Sounds like it. Well, appreciate you getting online. So
Absolutely.
all right, candidate support committee. I'm not sure that anyone from this committee is online. So I don't have any report from them other than that our 3 candidates that are running as libertarians are up and running and looking for help. So affiliate support committee is Mr. Curfeys, who is not here. Mr. Bruce, did you get any report from him on affiliate support?
I have not, no.
Okay. All right, old business. In-person SCC meeting. So the original date that I had thought of did not work for James and Maria. They are going to be out of town. I did try to request another place to have it in Northern Virginia. I did not hear from anybody. So I made a reservation at a restaurant in Newport News for August 19th at noon so that we have a place to have a meeting. It is the barbecue place where our Peninsula Libertarian Party meets every month. So we have the back room, it's closed off, it can probably hold about 40, 45 people if needed. Does anyone have any questions about that or concerns?
I won't be able to make it, unfortunately, so.
Okay. I knew somebody had a conflict, but I couldn't remember. So, the 26th was not available. They're having a wedding reception, strangely enough. Thought it was an odd place to have a wedding reception. And she couldn't guarantee they'd be done by a reasonable time. So, all right, Mr. Secretary, events in the area.
Yeah, thanks. So in addition to a bunch of the swag and stuff like that I was going through, one thing that I was also kind of looking into were just like some of the just bare bones events. I mean, the email that I sent out that had all of the swag and stuff like that on there was definitely not designed to be comprehensive. So, but there was a list on there of different events that were going on just in some of the areas that I think some of this will kind of tie into our discussion topic on the role of LPVA, but in general, you know, just some things to kind of consider for the various local affiliates, things to consider for LPVA. A lot of it was really just kind of, you know, some of the gun shows, some of the fall festivals. I think the fall festivals would be a lot of bang for a buck. Most of the ones that I was looking at, City of Fairfax, Roanoke, most of those, the registration fees didn't go above $250, maybe a little bit less. There's also a bunch going on at some of the local cideries in Central Virginia affiliate area that I'll be bringing up to Central Virginia. But in general, it's really just kind of started letting people understand that there's a lot of events out there. It's just a matter of what we decide to kind of pick and choose to go after. Paul?
Apologies. This was a question on the SCC meeting. Madam Chair, do you want us to have a vote on, like, that we do have that meeting?
Do we need to?
I think we do.
I thought as the chair, she could pretty much set the meeting.
Okay.
If people want to vote, we can vote, but
Sure. Let's move that we have the next SCC meeting in person at Smoke Barbecue Restaurant and Bar in Newport News on Saturday, August 19th at noon.
Second.
all right. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. Luckily, none of you have to drive through a tunnel. I made sure of that. So, all right. Mr. Secretary, did you want to continue with your discussion, or are we done with that?
So I think more or less we're pretty much touched on it. Just for like the folks in the Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads area, there's the Neptune Festival. Manassas has the Fall Jubilee, Fairfax, Roanoke. There's another one up in Crozet. So just a bunch of different things that I think would be good to consider. And I know for Central Virginia, I've already submitted the registration for the Beaver Dam Brew Jam, which is September 9th. That'll be in Beaver Dam, Virginia. So we've already had a little bit of discussion on the Discord about it, but yeah, that otherwise pretty much sums it up. I would like to essentially push it out to some of the CD chairs for other events in your area that would be that you think would be good to have us kind of partake. That's about it. Over.
I did have a question about the Excel spreadsheet you sent out. Was that just the same items from two different websites?
Correct. Yeah. So this was kind of, I apologize if you hear screaming in the background. It's my kid that decided to go crazy. But yes, essentially, this is kind of what I was pointing out on the Discord, but we have two different options, really. The Boundless organization, that one, there's really, really good pricing on it, but unfortunately, like some of the minimums are really high. And so I think that kind of puts some of these items out of reach or less palatable. Vistaprint, on the other hand, some of the items are a little bit more expensive by comparison, but there's a significantly lower minimum. So for instance, like if we wanted bookmarks, the minimum with Boundless is like 250. The minimum for Vistaprint is 50. So there's a point of diminishing returns where we just have way too much material on hand. So with my recommended purchases, the tab that says recommended purchases, I kind of delineated out which I think were the best bang for our buck that kind of balances the amount of material that we have on hand versus how much we would actually be expending out. So if we had to do a couple of buys throughout the year just because we were doing crazy amounts of events, I would feel like that would probably be a little bit better than a huge purchase all at once. But it's 6 in one, half a dozen with the other, so to speak. But just in general, that was the point that I was trying to make here, is that I've looked at two different vendors. I mean, I've evaluated a bunch of other vendors for the smaller minimum size, and Vistaprint was by far and away one of the better ones. Faster turnarounds, things like that. Boundless, this one was recommended by an LP member, and everything there looks really, really good also. It's just, again, the rub is some of the minimums are much higher than what I think we would be wanting to spend on some items. So that's just kind of the breakdown. I've got the recommended purchases up there. As far as merchandise and promotional items go, if anybody has I would like to actually, I know we talked about it at the last one where we would prefer to see something a little bit more substantial and concrete, but I do believe that having some form of a number to kind of center around would kind of make it a little bit easier to target what we actually buy. So what I've got right now, there's about $1,300 plus I've estimated tax and an initial startup cost, things like that, running somewhere in the neighborhood of about $1,500, a little bit more than that. So I would like to, I'd like to just kind of poll the audience for right now and just kind of see if anybody has some feedback.
I appreciate you putting that together, Jason.
Sure. I saw Jacqueline's hand first.
Yes, I'm just looking for clarification. Is this swag to give away or is this swag to sell?
That's to give away.
Okay.
Yep. James Rapace.
Yeah, so I'm guessing some of the recommendations are based on products that looked good on the one spot with the higher minimums, but other ones that were cheaper because the quantity we thought we were in. Is that the basic gist of where the breakdown came from?
Yeah, essentially, I was trying to also keep everything at a bare minimum of under $2,000. That was just kind of like a metric point for me. I figured if I came over and I was like, hey, so we could spend like $6,000 on this, it might just be a border or baseline non-starter. So 2,000 was about the limit I wanted to look at, and then as I kind of looked at the numbers and everything like that, most of them kind of, they kind of set themselves apart. But that's better. Paul?
So the minimums, would we be looking at all the same design? I guess most of them, the minimum is the quantity that you have in column E.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Just because I'm just wondering, like, how are we going to do like multiple designs? Are we going to do multiple designs?
And I would actually say no to that. The reason being is that typically speaking, there's going to be some form of like a startup fee for whatever your print is. And so like, I know like when we did all of this with Central Virginia, it was like, $20 for one thing, maybe $5 for another. Some items are free. So like that is a data point that I did not capture. So, but some of these, they definitely are going to be free. Like I think the bottle opener keychains from Vistaprint, I think on here I targeted the boundless ones, but regardless, I know with Vistaprint that one was free. So if we wanted to, we could get multiple designs of that, but that's sure, yes. Carl?
So this is for like this is not given out to the affiliates. This is for like when we're doing a function as the state party, right?
So I think that kind of rolls into our discussion topic. And just as like a really small highlight on that, we kind of had a bit of a back and forth on the Discord regarding some of this stuff.
Discord. I don't know how to use it.
Yeah, fair enough. So essentially, the question kind of comes down to whether or not we would have LPVA subsidize some of the events, and then you have like folks from the local affiliates that kind of are on the hook for doing whatever, or if it's going to be kind of largely driven by the local affiliates. And I mean, the whole question with this really is, the local affiliates, they have the lowest amount of fundraising, and the state party obviously has the most amount of fundraising. So organizations that are, small in nature, I mean, take South Central Virginia right now. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how many folks y'all have, or, what dues are, how much money's in the bank account or anything like that, but it's probably a lot less than what's in the coffers at the state level. So the question kind of becomes, do we just kind of standardize the promotional items that we have, or do we kind of, and then push that down to some of the local affiliates, or just let the local affiliates keep buying stuff individually?
Well, I mean,
That's kind of the.
Couldn't you do both? I mean, you have your stuff that says Virginia Libertarian Party that they can give out or have, and then if they want to do something locally for their affiliate, they can produce some things, some more inexpensive things that won't cost them anything. But if we're going to have, a number of different things, because they won't be able to pull, the local affiliates won't be able to pull 4 or 5 different items enough to give out at, say, at a fair or something, or some function. So, especially if they want to do it themselves, but if you do it as just a Libertarian Party, Virginia, and they can have flyers or whatever for their talk about their local affiliate, but we need to promote the whole state and the Libertarian Party and the Libertarian idea in general, not just the local affiliates. Because some of these
Right.
functions aren't going to be, people aren't just from that one area, you know, they're going to be from all over the state or all over the area or whatever, you know.
Yep, and you know, oddly enough, you're hitting a lot of the same points that were made on the Discord. No, I absolutely 100%. And the way that I kind of see it is, I mean, I know in Central Virginia, I think we spent somewhere in the neighborhood of about $500 on swag, and you know, $500 that has, yeah. Well, I mean, that carried us through a few events that we've done, which is great. But do we have the funding to continuously do multiple events if we're pushing out, you know, enough material that $500 covers 3 events, you know?
Exactly.
So there, yeah. So I think a lot of this kind of rolls into that discussion topic from down below. But this is essentially what I wanted to propose for at least bracketing for some promotional items.
Could I make a motion then to approve, say like a $2,000 allotted to you?
I would definitely say that it's not going to be allotted just to me. I mean,
Actually,
this is something.
For the promotional stuff. I don't mean you specifically to the merchandise promotional items purchase.
Yeah.
So I could do that?
Yeah. I mean, we could. I think there's a few other folks that have some discussions on this.
Okay, well,
but
let's
yeah,
involve
you're,
first.
yeah,
I just want to
right,
get it done. We've been talking about this for like 4 months, and I want to get some of this stuff done because you're right, the seasons are coming up, and I don't know what the turnaround time is with Vistaprint, but you know, they say they're this, but they may not be that. So
yes, yeah, and I'm getting tired of talking about it, to be honest. But yeah, Jack.
I am too.
Yes. So as far as the different ideas for promotional items, I would suggest that as more stores like Aldi's, Wegmans, Harris Teeter, and others are going towards a bagless environment or where you have to pay per bag, I think that if we want something that people are actually going to use in public, so that way we get our advertisement and they also see us as being an economically friendly.
That's a good idea.
Canvas bags or I don't know, whatever the plastic kind is, or, you know, the kind that you are reusable, you can put in your trunk or put in a stroller or put in your pocket. I think maybe that would be something that we should potentially add to the list, because it's getting expensive to buy bags if you go to any of those stores and you forget to bring your own.
Yeah, and you'll actually see, so like a few of these items here that, I mean, I don't have that specific thing on there, and that's a fantastic idea. I have like the drawstring bags that I see people carrying around, but the big thing for us is that I wanted to sorry, say it again.
Oh shit, sorry. I'm sorry.
No worries. Yeah, I just wanted to remove some of the items that were overly expensive, that were really kind of driving cost factors up into the multi-thousands of dollars. I figure a lot of these things like hats and hoodies and t-shirts and stuff like that, like those are things that we can talk about doing with an online store. But otherwise, if you want a t-shirt or something like that, I'm going to probably tell you to buy it yourself. I might throw those bags in there because I did actually see those and they're not cheap. So, but I'm absolutely open and receptive to looking into it. Paul?
So I think from this list, if we're going to triage, I think the stuff that should be prioritized is stuff that's valuable for tabling events. Stuff I'm seeing like buttons, bumper stickers, pens. I think those are kind of like your standard tabling type stuff. I think that should be the number one priority if we have to prioritize. In terms of how we want to handle this going forward, especially with respect to helping local affiliates, I think it's ultimately like I don't think anybody doesn't want to help local affiliates. It's just a matter of money. So what I would say is come 2024, because maybe this is what we're doing for 2023. And then come 2024, we have a budget, like just a general budget for swag give outs. And as you said, the more expensive stuff, perhaps there's like some kind of print on demand store we can link people to, but yeah, that's too expensive to just hand out. And then maybe have as a separate approval, we have X amount of money to local affiliate event support. And this will help them cover event fees, that sort of thing. I would kind of say maybe we don't ever cover 100%. There has to be some kind of incentive for the local affiliate to go out and raise money. If you're small, maybe even cover like the LPVA covers maybe 3/4 of it or something. But like go out, get active, talk to people, get donations, do stuff. And maybe some of the bigger affiliates that have more in their own bank accounts. I don't know. Maybe like I don't know that LP Nova needs help with the event fees. I think that might actually be fine. But I can't speak for them. I just sitting in their meetings, I think they might be fine on that. But just as an example, like not all affiliates are the same. There's some that might need more help than others. I think we should put a cap on ourselves in general, and then sort of like examine things on a case by case basis of once that total like annual dollar amount of local affiliate event support, if you want to call it that, is approved. Is this a worthy case or cause to support it? Yes or no? Like, is it a cheap event? People getting value? Is the attendance high? Maybe if it's aligned, gun shows, that sort of thing, then that would be higher priority. But I think that's how we should handle it going forward. As far as this year, I mean, if this is the proposal, I think that this is more than reasonable. Are we talking about helping the local affiliates financially with any of the events on the third tab, or is that just kind of a list to sort of distribute to them and say, hey, in case you didn't know about it, some of these are in your area?
Yeah, that was a little bit more of a FYSA. These are in your area, and I think that they would provide bang for the buck. I know the festival in Roanoke, that gets pretty big. Neptune Festival, huge, obviously. There's a few others where there's just a lot. I know some of I think the one up in Fairfax, actually, they did a whole metrics counting thing, like, hey, if you become a sponsor, you become a vendor, here's how many people that we typically see on average coming through there, et cetera. So they have everything broken down, and a lot of that I think is just, it was, again, me kind of doing a little bit of a triage or a balancing act between my time and the availability and accessibility of the events that I saw. But essentially, yeah, I mean, I'm 100% with you. I do think that there should be at least a little bit of a pot of money or an account, so to speak, whether the local affiliates are able to put together proposals and send them up to LPVA for assistance, that would be something that we could probably discuss. And honestly, if we really wanted to use the rest of this year as kind of a proof of concept, I think that would probably be a good use of funds. So.
Paul?
Yes, sorry. One other thing. I'm not sure if it's on here or not. Do we have anything for the like a trifold brochure? That seems to be a pretty standard kind of handout.
Yeah, so those are definitely something that we can get done at like Kinko's or Staples or wherever. So a lot of the physical handout print things I did not put on here specifically because those can be sourced a little bit differently. I will say though, the trifolds are the most expensive of any of the brochures that you would hand out. But yes, no, I'm counting those a little bit differently.
Carl?
Hey, first of all, you can get some of those brochures and stuff from the National Party too, free of charge, I believe. So you might want to look into that before you go to Kinko's. But I want to ask, this list you have here, is that the stuff you decide to get? Because like sticky notes, one pad for $5, one tablecloth, which I guess one tablecloth for, I don't know why you would need that. I mean, and some of the other stuff I don't see it shouldn't even be on the list on these things. Yard signs, we don't need a yard sign.
So yeah, the left-hand column is the minimum. That's just the minimum. What I put in
okay,
is, yeah, the blue column is what my recommendations were. And again, we can kind of pare these things down as needed. Like I'm not married to any of these. I'm thinking about yard signs in the sense of, if we're putting on meetings or something like that, major meetups, being able to have these things accessible. The tablecloth,
I got you. Not to give out. I got you. That makes sense.
Yeah. So some of this stuff is, give it out to people. The other ones are just things that we would need logistically for the actual event itself. Like the tablecloth is, as we found out, I mean, if you try hanging a banner up on top of the tent, it kind of tends to block the view of everything inside the tent. So just a few little things like that. But yeah, essentially like the pens, the lanyards, stuff like that, those are giveaway items. The rest of it is otherwise logistically.
Just your and how you must. So the other gym was talking about not giving half, supporting the local affiliates with half stuff or whatever. So if you go to the fair, you want to give out business cards. 200 business cards, it may not last. I mean, you may have that many people come by your table and you give one to everybody who walks by because you want them to know who you are. Wouldn't it be more productive to get like 1,000 or 2,000 business cards and buttons that you will know you can just get out by the dozens at every show you go to? Unless you plan on doing it several times a year, purchases.
Sure, and that's kind of what I was saying, where I feel like, we could use the rest of this year as kind of a proof of concept to really, I mean, like I said, I know with LP Central Virginia, for us, we bought $500 worth of stuff, and that has so far lasted us. But the events that we've been doing are, they're relatively small by comparison. Now, I don't think that if we were doing the state fair, these numbers would probably be pretty low because there's like 30,000 people or something like that come through the state fair.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, no, I think it depends on the size of the events, and at least having the mechanism kind of opened up, we can at least maybe minimize our discussions later on in the year if we have to do repeat purchases or something. We're not trying to sell the whole concept of promotional items. It's just
I agree.
Purchase order.
And not every affiliate will want to get everything on your list, So I agree with your right. So
if I can make a suggestion that we send this out to all of the local affiliates, and if they want to make a proposal to try and get assistance from LPVA, we can review them as they come in.
Well, I'll second that little suggestion. That's a great suggestion.
Provide proposals to LPVA or affiliates.
Some of them may not know what things would cost.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine, and that'll be good to actually get contact information for everybody as well. Paul?
Yeah. So I just want to clarify, we're talking about ordering all of the things, at least that aren't grayed out. And this is going to be the LPVA's property, and maybe the LPVA lets affiliates take some and hand them out. But that's what we're talking about, right? We're not talking about
exactly it.
Okay. So then this raises a question that I think isn't really applicable for local affiliates because they're a much more concentrated area, is once we buy this stuff, where is it going to be warehoused?
Please don't say my house.
I'll put it this way. I think that
Not it.
Yeah, I think that is a question that we can answer relatively easily. I mean, to be perfectly honest, like if it becomes an issue, I'll take the stuff. I don't really care that much.
I've got a storage facility we can use, so it's
Yep,
Carl.
So
that's
just a thought on it. Is Vistaprint or Boundless or somebody else, would they offer something like we prepay for this stuff and they just get their money early, and then we'll tell them, okay, we're doing an event in 2 weeks. We need this amount, ship it here, deduct it from our basically prepaid tab or something like that. Is that an option?
I've had a little bit of experience with doing this for other organizations. Boundless, I can't necessarily speak for, just because they're a local company down here in the Richmond area. Again, we've got a contact there, so that might be a little bit different of a relationship. I do like actually having a person to go to, by the way, but Vistaprint, I highly doubt that they would do something like that, where they would set up an account for us that we just draw on. Now, they do actually have the online stores that you can set up, and then we could, in theory, just say, all right, we're doing an event. I need 300 more pens and 200 and 1,000 more business cards. So that's both possible on both of these organizations. So I think it's just a matter of scale that we would really talk to. But yeah, I don't think that there's necessarily an account, and I'm not sure that we would want to take any funding and just essentially give it to someone with the hopes that, you know, we'll be drawing on it later or something like that. I wouldn't want to do that anyway.
Okay. I guess I just think that whatever the solution is, that we should have some kind of solution for wherever, like, the problem is it's a really big state. And if stuff is currently in Nova and it needs to be down in Roanoke for an event, that kind of means somebody's going to need to drive from Nova to Roanoke and back, or vice versa.
We could put it in the mail also. I mean, it's, you know, $10-15 to mail it, to get it in a few days. Like there's options.
Sure. But I guess for Vistaprint, they'll put it in the mail, and we would have, from them at least, already have gotten it through the mail. I'm just thinking of, like, I don't know. I'm not trying to poke holes in this, because I think it's a great idea. It's just thinking through the logistics of how to get it where it needs to go when driving isn't really that good of an option. And, like, driving is the solution for local affiliates because everybody's pretty nearby. It's just not so much here.
Probably having an online store where they can just purchase what they need might be helpful as well then.
James?
Yeah, so we're not going to be ordering in any quantity nearly enough to get a dedicated account rep, nor that type of treatment. So just put it out of your mind. The only thing you could lean on would be somebody who prints on demand fast enough to do that. Otherwise, we'd be talking like millions upon millions for a company would want to establish that type of relationship with us for the most part.
All right.
Yeah. So I would like to go ahead, and if there are no other comments, I would like to go ahead and at least just do kind of like what we were talking about in the last one, and just set aside a pot of money, and I'm going to motion for $1,600 to be our limit, and then we can kind of go back and forth again on the exact numbers of what we all want over Discord. But that would be that'll be my motion.
I'll second that for you,
Thank you, sir.
Carl.
And to clarify, Jason, this is to help affiliates pay for fees for events?
No, this is just for the promotional items.
Okay. Paul?
I move to amend the motion from $1,600 to $2,000. If I could,
Second that.
if I could speak to that, we don't have to spend everything that we approve, but we cannot spend more than we approve. So I would, within reason, say that we should approve in excess of what we're budgeting, just in case there's an issue. And like absent another meeting and approval and all of that stuff, we can't spend that money. Let's go above just in case we have to.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I believe Carl already seconded the amendment. And welcome to Mr. Kerpies, by the way. It looks like Mr. Norton is home.
So I would go ahead and say, I mean, this one would fall under the requirement for a roll call vote. So if we want to go, if there's no further discussion or amendments, then we are voting on a $2,000 account for promotional items.
Paul.
I believe that the procedure would be that we
Vote
first
on the amendment
vote
first.
on the amendment to the amendment. Like, I guess you could, at your discretion, Madam Chair, you can call for objections, and if there aren't any, we can move on. But I do think we have to dispense with that item first.
Yes, we need to vote for the amendment to the motion first. But that does not require 2/3. So that is, anyone have any objections to Paul's motion to amend the motion to $2,000? All right, hearing none, let's get back to voting on the original motion with Paul's amendment for $2,000. So we will start with CD1.
Vote yes on the motion.
All right, CD2,
I approve as well.
CD3,
James St. John, yes.
CD4.
Yes, this is Carl. Yes, I agree.
All right, CD5.
James Curtis, a vote yes.
All right, CD6 not here. CD7.
CD7, David Norton, yes.
All right, CD8, Mr. Fleming. Are you there, Tom?
Sorry, yeah, I agree.
Okay, thank you. All right, CD10.
James Repass, yes.
All right, and Mr. Treasurer.
I vote yes.
All right, Mr. Secretary,
Yes.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Yes.
All right, I will vote yes as well. So motion passes. All right, I think that concludes old business. So new business, we need to approve Dean Davidson as the chair of the State Convention Planning Committee. I did not have any other volunteers, and he said he was willing to do it. So unless anyone has any other suggestions, I would like to officially approve him so he can get moving on this. Mr. Bracco?
Just how much discretion would Dean and whoever else he appoints to the committee have on when and where the state convention is?
Well, so that needs to be decided soon. I mean, I would prefer that he would bring a few options to the SCC, but might have to be something we approve between meetings, because I definitely want to have something by the end of August at the latest.
Okay, but mechanically speaking, he would not be, like, the SCC would have to sign off on the plan.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This is Jason. I'll motion to approve Dean.
Okay,
This is Paul Bracco. I'll second.
thank you. Any objections? All right, I will let Dean know he is official. I think he was already acting like he was official anyway, but All right, and this has been something that I've forgotten to put on the agenda for a while, but we need to approve Lawrence Millen as our new IT director. Gary Krause is going to get him trained on everything so that we're not having anyone waiting to be approved for users.
Well, I'll second that too then.
Oh, I need an official motion first.
I will
Oh,
move.
that sounded official. Sorry.
I will move so he can second.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. All right, anyone object to Lawrence being approved? All right, hearing none, I will let him know he's official as well. All right, State Fair. I know, Mr. Curtis, you had someone that wanted us to discuss this.
Yes, someone in the district suggested that we consider hosting a table at this year's state fair as a way of raising support, and I guess trying to remember this person's exact wording, but basically as a lead into next year being a presidential election year, so a way to recruit membership or raise awareness for the party. I guess I just want to bring this forward on one because I was asked to, and secondly, just try to get a sense of if there had been any other discussion about participating in the affair, if anyone was interested in spearheading such an effort, or just a feeling from this body of if we think we want to move forward on this in 23, or if we would want to at least get a start on participating next year. So really just throwing this out there for a brief discussion, just try to get a sentiment of the body, and unless somebody else has a motion or one develops out of this discussion, I don't have a motion to introduce.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Curtis. I just want to throw information out there that I know. I believe it's $1,000 to have a table or booth there. It is, I think, almost 2 weeks. It might just be 10 days, but the booth has to be staffed at all times, or we are basically in violation of whatever contract that we sign. And it is a lot of people to man this, unless there's someone that wants to be at the fair every day, all day. It's going to require a lot of manpower. So it definitely is a good event to be at. I don't know that we can pull that off in 2 months, to be honest. But, Carl?
I guess I was going to say we've done it before, but I guess we have maybe more than 2 months to prepare for it. That may have been the issue before, but I know we've done it before. I was out there and went out there like 1 or 2 times. So is the fair like, I don't know the hours of it. It's like 9 till 10 at night or something, or is it just in the evening?
It's probably at least 12 hours each day.
12 hours? Okay. That would be the thing, as long as man it. We only need 1 person to man it, or 2 people at the most.
Well, always 2 people, because someone's got to be able to leave to go to the bathroom.
Oh, I just bring cup. So, you know, I'm cool about that stuff. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm really in favor of the state fair. I think, like he was saying, it's just getting our name out there. There was a report that just came out that 68% of all independents are willing to vote third party. You know, 30-some% for Democrats and Republicans are both willing to vote third party. This could be a big opportunity for the Libertarian Party to do something this year. And because the candidates that are running are just not there on either party. So I think us getting our name out there for the Libertarian Party, people know who we are. I think it's a big deal. Whether we sponsor a person to run for office this year or not, we still need to get our name out there. That's what we're supposed to be doing. So I'm for it, and I'll help run it. I'll take a week off vacation if I have to, and I'll stay out there. I don't care. I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
Well, I would say I know there was one other member that was interested in helping coordinate volunteers. if between the two of you, if you can get people to tentatively agree to staff the booth and we can have it staffed for the entire time, I'd be willing to consider approving the funds.
Now, who's the other staff member? Or have them get a hold of me. You don't want to say their name out loud.
It's the vice chair for the 5th Congressional District, Amity. But I can definitely put you guys in touch with each other. Anyone else have any questions or Paul?
Yeah, so I was just kind of running through napkin math here. If it's 9 days long and it's 12 hours a day, I think it's a safe assumption to say we would need 2 shifts per day, like 2 6-hour shifts. And if we're going to have 2 people at the booth at all times, that means we got to find people to cover 36 shifts. So like one person can do multiple shifts, but that's a lot of space to fill. I think this is a great event to do. I think I'm just skeptical that it could be pulled off in this timeline. I'm willing to let people try, but personally speaking, I would not want to approve money until we have like a volunteer sheet filled out.
Yeah, that's basically what I was proposing. Mr. St. John?
From what I know of the last times we've done them, the minimal staffing that we were required to keep was 3 people. So you might want to adjust your numbers for 3 people over 9 days.
Well, when I did it, we only had 2 of us there. We didn't have 3 of us there. That was before COVID. I don't know if they changed their rules or not, but I don't know if it's our requirement or the state fair's requirement to have 3 people.
I believe that was the state fair's requirement, part of the contract we signed with them.
Because I was there and the candy place only had 1 person and the hot tub guy only had 1 person next to us. So, the toy guys only had 2 people. So I don't know if we have to check that too.
I don't care what they do.
Yeah.
I just care what we have to abide by. So if they're not abiding by the rules, that's on them. But we have to abide by the contract that we signed. So whatever that is, if it's 3 people or if it's 2 people. So that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Bruce?
Yeah, I can reach back out to the point of contact over there at the Meadow Event Farm, just to firm up any of those details. That being said, personally, I would be a little skeptical that they would have a state fair police kind of walking around and verifying that every booth actually had 2 or 3 or however many people. But I mean, James brings up a good point. If there are minimum requirements, that we should at least plan to that, with the understanding that, hey, sometimes things happen, people need to duck out early, whatever, and then that should be fine by all accounts also. But I can get some of those more specific details. It being only 2 months away, it's unlikely. They already do not have any more outdoor vendor spots, which, hey, I'm not complaining about that because it's August or it's September, so still gonna be hot outside. But the only positions that they have available left are on the indoor spaces. And if anybody's been out there before, they're folks tend to just kind of go in there to escape the heat. So all food for thought. I do like the idea of planning for next year early and in advance. But hey, if Carl and Amity can drum up the volunteers for it, then yeah, go for it. I've got the stats and metrics and stuff like that. I mean, there's a 250,000 people in average attendance. Most people wind up spending between 3 and 8 hours at the fair. There's a lot here that I think is of interest to us. That's it.
All right. So, Carl, you want to try and get that done for us?
Yeah, give me the other person and somebody give me the minimum numbers that we require to have, if there are a requirement, and then we'll work on it. And I'll get with you on it It's just some logistic things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. But definitely something we want to do regardless for next year. So, alrighty. That concludes our new business. Discussion topics. Role of LPVA as parent organization to local affiliates. Mr. Bruce?
Yeah, so this was kind of, this was kind of what we were briefly touching on with the events and the merchandising and all that stuff. I think that we do need to kind of have a bit of a discussion with respect to essentially do the affiliates kind of, again, set proposals, things like that, and, you know, request assistance from LPVA, or does LPVA just kind of lean on the affiliates? I mean, there's definitely a disparity between the amount of fundraising that can be done at the state level, and the question kind of becomes, what is it that we do with the funding that we have? If we're not actively using it for, you know, furthering the cause of liberty, then, you know, we really need to figure out what it is that we are doing. So I think there's definitely something to be said for, you know, again, standardizing some of the merchandise that would go out. There's something to be said for doing more and more events and actually showing that we are a force, we are a presence, you know, we're established. It's not a, you know, hey, look, it's the Libertarian Party, they decided to show up this time, that kind of mentality. So the question kind of comes down really to, where does LPVA kind of fit into the affiliate process? We want to make sure that our affiliates are, you know, decentralized, they can make their own decisions, things like that. But at the same time, we also need to be able to provide some level of support to the affiliates. I mean, small affiliates, you know, they're the ones that need the most help. Like Paul was kind of alluding to LP Nova not really needing any sort of financial support to support some of the registration fees. I mean, if we go out to, you know, if Winchester finally stands up, or South Central Virginia or something like that, I mean, you know, Hampton Roads doesn't even have a bank account right now. These are all items that I think we should, that should not preclude them from actually being able to do events on their own. And there's a lot of events out there where the majority of people that attend aren't actually from that one local area. Carl was kind of mentioning it earlier also. I mean, just because an event is held in, you know, place A doesn't mean that it's just for the people of place A. You know, people come from all over the state to go to the Urbana Oyster Festival, you know, I mean, all over the country to come to the Urbana Oyster Festival. Same with the Neptune event and State Fair, et cetera. So I think that there's some form of assistance, or at least an idea that we need to kind of be able to push out to the affiliates of, you know, kind of reverse that whole JFK thing of, you know, what can LPVA do for you to actually help you get the message out there, especially if we're leaning on the local affiliates to do the majority of the legwork. So two schools of thought. LPVA kind of does its own events. You know, it's LPVA is actually going out and doing events in, you know, Roanoke, doing events in Northern Virginia or Richmond, you know, Chesapeake, whatever. Or let the local affiliates kind of do that with the backing of LPVA. So those are the two things I wanted to kind of put up for discussion. If anyone knows of a third option, I'm all for that too.
I mean, I think with the exception of the state fair, it would be easier to have the local affiliates do events in their area. But, Paul?
I would definitely agree with that. I think the legwork should be the local affiliates, and whatever, like, I guess we're trying to trust people to be honest, that they're not sort of taking resources that they don't need. So let's assume that everybody is like, your bank account can't cover the registration fee or whatever. I might want to maybe amend what I had said earlier in the meeting, where we don't ever pay for all of it. Like, okay, maybe we could, but I think it's we allocate money to an account to help local affiliates with events, and then they'll come and make the pitch, and hopefully we're not too stingy, because like you said, we're getting money in, we need to be spending money to promote Liberty stuff. And the local affiliate makes the pitch, and we either pay some or all of that registration fee and maybe help them with swag to hand out. I think that's kind of how it should go, rather than some kind of top-down approach. But I do agree that the one exception would be the state fair.
Yeah, that definitely will be all funded by the state party.
And honestly, it's not even just the state fair and the Urbana Oyster Festival. Those are the two that I've seen that are the most expensive at $1,000 each. There's a few other places or a few other festivals that are even more expensive than that I don't think would necessarily be worth it for us. But in general, I like this approach. I mean, this is what I do in my day job. I significantly prefer the proposal and, get people to do a little bit of legwork. It's not just hey, give us money so we can go and, take part in this beer festival because we all just want to go and drink beer or something like that. So yeah, I would definitely support something like that. Paul. Jacqueline.
Yes. While we're on the topic of different kinds of events to have on a state level or whatnot, I was wondering, do we have any plans to do anything specifically for the 2024 election? Like, do we have anything that's geared towards libertarian stuff? We're like, hey, this is our push for our influence on the 2024 election.
You mean for the presidential election?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So some of that will be driven by the candidate itself. A lot of times they have their own team that sometimes they'll use the SCC officers. Sometimes they will put their own people in place in each district. So we will obviously have to have the petition drive to get them on the ballot.
Well, I was thinking more in terms of, rather than pushing for our own candidate, we try to push the existing candidates to make libertarian choices. As in, the Libertarian Party supports this particular position on this particular policy. Which one of you is going to get all of our votes? So rather than having our own person, which we don't really have, we're just like as a unified front. Like, for instance, when the presidential candidates get out there like, hey, the Boy Scouts of America, stand behind me, or the fire department of this particular area, stand behind me. It's like, can we maybe give us a voice by putting out our positions and then saying, hey, if you support this, then we'll support you? I mean, is that something we can do? Or
not officially as a party? No, it is expressly restricted. We cannot endorse any partisan candidate, president or otherwise, other than LP.
Okay. And so then within that, are we, I guess, never mind. I guess they answered my question.
So you can go to your local officials, elected anybody. You can go to their office in Richmond and say, hey, I personally want to ask you to support X, Y, and Z. We can't go there and say, hey, I am representing the party and we're lobbying for you to do this.
Gotcha. I guess what I just meant was that as libertarians, a lot of the candidates who aren't libertarians don't speak to libertarian policies. So maybe if we present our libertarian policies and push them specifically to answer how they would, kind of act or vote or, apply law or whatever to those particular policies, then we'd have a better idea of who we're stuck choosing between, because it's not a good choice. So.
So are you essentially saying that we need to move the Overton window, as the common phrase is used? Because I would kind of say that's that's almost the job of the LP presidential candidate, like not so much the state party. And I guess that means we got to pick a good candidate. We got to elect the delegates that pick a good candidate. And I'm sure there's very differing opinions from everybody on what a good candidate would be. But ultimately, I think that is the job of the LP presidential candidate, is to try to move the Overton window to influence other people to steal our ideas.
It's actually why Michael Bartley says he runs every 2 years, is to try and keep the libertarian ideas out there. And if our current delegate would start acting like a libertarian, he wouldn't run. But all right, so Mr. Vice Chair, do you want to revisit your bylaw amendments?
Sure. So, do I have the ability to share my screen? I can try. Nope. So I think that my idea here is to create a more formalized and here, before I get into it, I'm going to post it in the chat again. A more formalized structure for the local affiliates. So it's basically set to, we need to know who are the local affiliate officers, because like if we don't know who they are, we're certainly not going to be able to know who to contact to say like, hey, just so you know, we have some money set aside to help you if you want to table an event or something, cover that event fee. Like we need to know who these people are. So I think that's important, and I think that sometimes that has on occasion been lost. So I want to create a rule, a structure where they have to tell us who are your officers and what are your bylaws. And that's really it. Like, I don't want to be forcing people to do it this way or do it that way. Like, they need to comply with their bylaws and with our bylaws and the national bylaws insofar as there are requirements. I'd like to keep those light, but maybe not none. They have to comply with those, but otherwise kind of do what you want, whatever works. Like, I don't know, what is it? I don't know. I'm forgetting the phrase, but forget about it. That's the idea behind this amendment. And I like there's some in here, especially the affiliation may be revoked section, where maybe that's too harsh. And I'm open to making that more lenient, but only to a degree, especially with the first two. So if there is like leadership change, if there are bylaws changes, like just get, like, every affiliate get into the habit of telling the party, and in reality that's going to be the secretary, about that. And then like it's intended to say you can be revoked for these reasons and only these reasons, and it would require a vote. There's nothing automatic about it, but you have to tell the secretary who your officers are. You have to tell the secretary who what your governing documents are if you've changed them, and then you have to stick to your bylaws and our bylaws and our national bylaws, which is very little on national or on local affiliates, just the endorsement stuff. And then there's some language down at the bottom about how to split affiliates. I don't know how relevant this is in most instances, but there has been talk for a while about like LP Nova splitting and how that would work, and that might end up being a test case. So I don't know. maybe I should just stop talking. That's about it. I think it's just the change to the last section, the .04. This position, the affiliate support committee chair being elected by the local affiliates, that actually already exists in our documents. It just sort of restricts it to the local affiliates have to do this at the regular state convention. And if they don't, which I don't remember them ever doing it, then the SCC picks that person. And that is still allowed, but the structure that I'm trying to create here is that it doesn't have to be at the regular state convention. It is like the vote itself, if there is like multiple candidates for that position, then the voting is done in proportion to the membership of LPVA. Like, let's say that there are 500 members in LPVA and 475 of them are living somewhere like a city or county that is covered by a local affiliate. And let's say there's an affiliate with 100, there's another affiliate with 100, and there's an affiliate with a 200, and there's an affiliate with 75. So the affiliate with 200 would have twice the voting power as the affiliate with 100. And the reason for that is, one, because they represent more members. And two, it creates an incentive for local affiliates to recruit members for LPVA, which I don't think is bad. It's no requirement for them to do so if they don't care, but it does create that incentive if they do care. And then at the end, it does say that in the absence of the election, the SCC shall select the acting chair. And the difference there is that word acting, meaning that the SCC is not selecting a permanent chair. They're selecting somebody to do the job until the affiliates elect the official person. So this still, this means that the affiliates would maintain the ability to elect that person, even if the SCC has already put someone into that spot. If they want somebody else, they can get somebody else. And then there's no mention of it being like at a regular state convention, and there's no requirement for that. That's just gone. So I know it's a lot, and we might have a long discussion, so I'm going to shut up.
Mr. Bruce?
Yeah, hey, so, I mean, honestly, like, I like the idea of really specifically codifying a lot of this stuff. I think that it's necessary, and we've seen in the past how our current bylaws are kind of exploited to, work against some of the other affiliates. So one thing that I did want to kind of bring up to you, though, is with respect to the language, the paragraph just above section 403.02, where it says the SCC may deny affiliation within 90 days of the receipt of a valid petition with a 2/3 vote of the entire SCC. So this is saying they can deny you, but you need 10 votes to kill it. Right after that, 403.02 says affiliation may be revoked at any time for cause with a majority vote of the entire SCC. So now, I mean, to me, like, if they really wanted to, they could say, like, all right, well, we've got, we only have 8 votes or whatever. What would be kind of the difference with the limit? If you had a couple of bad actors, then honestly, I mean, I just don't understand why it wouldn't be the exact same threshold. Over.
So I guess first thing, Mr. Secretary, if you could share the that link onto the screen. Is that possible?
Yeah, 1 second.
Thank you. The thought there, and I wouldn't be against making that 2/3, but the thought there is that next sentence after that, cause shall include and be limited to. So if you can't point to one of these 4, then there's no vote at all. You don't have the option. You can't just revoke something because you feel like it. there's no, right now, I believe that the, let's look up affiliation. Yeah. So this is, if you were to scroll up to the bottom part of that first page. So that last sentence of the second to last paragraph, or sorry, second to last sentence of the second last. So affiliate, it's starts with affiliation is always at will. So affiliation is always at will on the part of both the LPVA and the affiliate. Affiliation may be revoked at any time for cause with a simple majority vote of the entire SCC. It doesn't list what cause is, so you could say whatever you want is cause. So it's effectively without cause. It's a simple majority, so it's not majority. I guess it is a majority of the entire, actually. I don't know, it shouldn't say simple. Anyway. So under this new structure, and maybe it should be explicitly called out, affiliation would be at will on the part of the affiliate. Whereas on the part of the LPVA, it's not exactly at will. It can only be revoked if the affiliate sort of hits one of the conditions. This is now down page 3 and a little bit into page 4.
Affiliation would be automatic unless.
So the way that it is written is this: the affiliation, like the creation, the approval of an affiliate, or are we talking the disaffiliation, the revocation of affiliation? I guess
the approval.
So the approval is what's in 4.3.1, and yes, that is it's basically by default you're approved if you meet these criteria. The SCC can deny it within a time limit, so it's not like an infinite ability to deny it, and it's a really high threshold. Like, this is the highest threshold we have, with one exception, anywhere in any governing document, is 2/3 of the entire. So it, like, you can be denied, but it's a very high bar, and so nobody on the SCC is sort of able to gather the votes to deny you within 90 days, you're approved. Too bad.
Good night, guys. If we're not voting on something, I'm going to bed. 4 a.m. comes real early.
Okay.
I mean, we can discuss this over emails. This isn't something we need a meeting to discuss. We don't even have a motion to be discussing right now.
Well, I mean, I would like to point out that this has been circulating since May.
Is there a motion that we're discussing right now then?
Would you like to make a motion, Mr. Vice Chair?
Sure. I move that we adopt the amendment as written here.
Do I have a second?
Is Jason
I'll
your
second
second?
Yeah, okay.
Does anyone want to have any further discussion?
I'm going to object to the language. Let me pull it up here where I can read it. About giving the secretary the power to veto any objection to the section 40303, I think it is. I had that pulled up. Where was it?
Could you look in that center column? I might not. I might not have updated that. So now this is.
No.
So
3 months.
perhaps. Okay. I might need to do some editing here. So I'd like to move to table this until the what did we vote on? August 19th, I think. The August 19th meeting.
Can I?
I'll second.
All right, any objections?
Can I state my objection?
Sure.
My main objection was it says an affiliate shall be recognized by the party when, upon petition to the party secretary for recognition, it demonstrates, and then it goes on. And the petition actually should be towards the SCC, because we're the body that actually approves it, not the secretary.
So the mechanism here is the affiliate would have to petition an individual. So it can't petition like an entity. Like,
but it is. We're the ones who are going to approve it.
Well, no, there is actually no approval. There is just denial. So if the SCC does nothing, if the secretary receives an email with proof that some group has met all 5 conditions and does nothing with it, then that affiliate is approved after 9, like without any, like, I guess they're approved.
That's what I'm objecting to.
So you think
it should be presented to the SCC, and then if we do nothing, it becomes a member. Not if it's presented to the secretary and he decides to sit on it. The SCC operates as a body as a whole.
Okay.
Not the executive committee, not any. We're the 15 members that run this party.
So as a hypothetical, if the secretary, because you're saying essentially the secretary would like the affiliate to be approved, but but enough of the rest of the SEC would not like it to be approved. And given that situation, the secretary then sits on the information that only the secretary has.
Yes.
Is that correct? So that, yes. But if you were to do it in the opposite direction, then it could be that the secretary does not want an affiliate to be approved. And the secretary then sits on the information so that it does not get delivered to the SEC. And therefore, they never get recognized. Perhaps there's a way to thread that needle. And I think maybe that's what we brainstorm over the next month. But I think that is a less good option, because it's sort of like in the worst case scenario where the secretary is being malicious, the affiliate is denied. Whereas in the existing language, in the worst case scenario, the secretary is being malicious, the affiliate is approved. And I would like to hedge on the side of affiliates being approved rather than denied.
Can't you just make the secretary required to notify the SEC committee the following month once they're notified? Just to notify them. Notify them.
I mean, sure, we can put language in here to require,
yes,
but
that's it.
What does that?
Well, that way
still
they can't
begs the
set on
question.
it. Well, that way they can't set on it.
No,
you're not approving. You're just saying it.
I would like to remind everyone of the situation that we went through about 10 months ago, where despite requirements to do things, they were not done by particular officers. Yes, we had a remedy. I guess maybe that's our remedy is, yes, you do require it. And then if you really need to, you can, I guess there is a point at which the remedy is boot the secretary.
Exactly.
So I think there's a really easy,
we can brainstorm
there's a really easy fix for this. There's a really easy fix for this. I mean, we can set up an email account, because right now there's no mechanism to actually send an email to the entire SCC minus the discussion board. So as an external person, they do not have an email address to send to everybody. We could easily set up something that is, scc@lpva.com or something like that, that sends that email out to everyone. And then on the website, you just list new affiliates petition here to have that set to go to everybody. But technically, I mean, I'm actually going to kind of side with Paul on the secretary thing, just because technically speaking, the secretary is the one responsible for doing all the recording for these types of things anyways. So I understand why it's written as such, but I agree with everyone else where in practice, there needs to be you need to spread this out. It can't just be going to one person. I mean, James and Carl are both absolutely right. If you really want to, you just sit on it and, it's a de facto veto. But setting that up would be super easy. Make sure that we can send it out to everybody. That way everyone checks everyone else.
I do want to clarify, under the current structure, it's not a pocket veto. It's essentially a pocket approval. It's not a
notification note.
Sure. But if we put in here that what I would say is that it's not required for the local committee to notify the entire SCC. It's required for the local committee to notify the secretary, and it's required for the secretary to notify the SCC.
Well,
that way,
put that email in there.
Oh, I think we can totally restructure the language to say that. I'm not opposed to that at all. What I would want to not do is require more than the secretary on the part of the local affiliate. I have no problem codifying that the secretary is required to send it to the SCC.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
So we can workshop language. I think Mr. St. John brought up that this could be done on email, and I agree. I can, after this meeting, I can start an email thread on that. But I do want to, there was a motion made, there was an objection, fair enough. And then I made a motion to table this. And while I appreciate the discussion, I do want to respect time because there were some objections to the time that this might take.
I'll
fair
second
enough.
that for you. Carl will second that for you.
All right, so motion to table. Any objections?
And specifically table to our August 19th meeting.
Yes.
Yes, not table indefinitely.
All right. Hearing no objections, we will table this discussion to the August 19th meeting. I think that takes care of business. Unless there's anything else for the good of the order. Mr. Becker?
Madam Chair, I'd like the motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that, James St. John.
All right. Anyone opposed? All right. Meeting adjourned at 9:46 p.m.
Thanks, all. See you later.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Bye.
I'll get this up on the email on the discussion board. But
You have a discussion board?
good thoughts. The email group, the email list, whatever,